Hey everyone, today we're diving into one of the most powerful stories ever told. A story about messing up big time, and about forgiveness and a kind of love that almost seems too good to be true. You might think you know the story of the prodigal son, but trust me, its most challenging lesson is often the one we completely miss. So before we jump in, let me ask you something right off the bat. Is there a line you can cross where you just can't come back? Is any mistake, any failure, just too big to be forgiven? It's a pretty heavy question, right? But believe me, we are not the first people to wrestle with it. It turns out an ancient story, a parable, offers this really radical and honestly deeply moving answer, one that pushes back against our modern ideas of fairness, justice, and what love is supposed to look like. Okay, so first things first, what are we actually looking at here? This isn't just some old historical tale. It's what's called a parable, and it's specifically designed to hold up a mirror to our own lives and our own experiences. So a parable takes really familiar stuff, family drama, money, jobs, and uses it to teach a much deeper, more profound truth. The simple story is just the vehicle. The lesson is the real destination. And this one, it's an absolute masterclass in storytelling. All right, let's get into the story itself. It kicks off with a father and his two sons. And right away, the spotlight is on the younger one, who makes a demand that is just, well, it's breathtaking in how bold and insulting it is. Now, you have to understand, this was not just some kid asking for his allowance early. In that culture, asking for your inheritance while your father is still alive, that was the ultimate slap in the face. It was basically like saying, Dad, I wish you were already dead. Your only value to me is your money. It is just a profound act of rejection. So yeah, this is about way more than just cash. He is demanding a total and complete separation. He wants the family's wealth, but without the family. He wants freedom, but with zero accountability. He wants to be the sole author of his own story, completely cut off from his roots. And here's the kicker. The father says yes. He actually divides the property and the son takes off. But as you can probably guess, this grand plan for absolute freedom, it doesn't quite work out. In fact, it's an absolute train wreck. And man, does it all fall apart fast. The life he pictured for himself, full of wild parties and endless money, it just vanishes. He blows through everything. A severe famine hits the land. And that freedom he wanted so badly becomes a cage of total, crushing desperation. And this right here, this is rock bottom. He is so broke and so hungry that he gets a job feeding pigs, which, for his culture, was the most degrading job imaginable. He's literally starving, wishing he could eat pig food. He's hit the lowest of the lows, and he is completely and utterly alone. It's right there, in the mud with the pigs, that the big turning point happens. The story says he came to his senses. The whole fantasy he'd built for himself just shatters. His pride is gone, replaced by humility, and he makes the terrifying decision to try and go home. But look, he's not walking home with his head held high. No way. This journey is fueled by shame, by fear, and by a very carefully rehearsed plan. He knows he's torched the bridge of being a son, so he comes up with a speech, getting ready to beg his dad for a job. You see the logic here, right? It's totally transactional. In his mind, he broke the contract of being a son, so now he's going to try to earn his way back as a lowly servant. He's expecting judgment. The best he's hoping for is maybe some kind of grudging pity. But what happens next? This is what makes the story so timeless. The father sees him coming from way down the road, and he runs to him, something a respected elder in that society would never, ever do. Before the son can even get his little speech out, he's being hugged and kissed. The father is yelling for the best robe, a ring for his finger, and for a huge party to be thrown. These are not the actions you take when hiring a servant. These are the symbols of complete, unconditional restoration of a son. And the father's words here, they say it all. This isn't about making the son pay his dues or balancing the scales. This is a celebration of a resurrection. The relationship that was dead is now alive. The son who was lost is now home. Now, if the story stopped right there, it'd just be a beautiful story about forgiveness. But it doesn't. And this is where things get really interesting. Because there's another character we haven't talked about yet, one who really complicates the whole idea of what it means to be lost. So the older brother, the good son, the one who did everything right, he's out working in the fields When he comes home and hears a party for his loser brother, he is livid. He is so angry he refuses to even go inside, just stewing in his own sense of injustice. And here's the twist. The two brothers are really just two sides of the same coin. Sure, the younger son was lost in rebellion, breaking all the rules. But the older son? He was lost in his own smug self-righteousness. He followed all the rules, not because he loved his father, but because he was trying to earn his favor. In his own way, he was just as far from his father's heart as his brother was in a distant land. They both saw their dad as someone to get something from, not someone to just be with. And that leaves us with the final, really challenging question of the whole story. The younger son was physically lost, but he found his way home. The older son, well, he was physically home the whole time. But was he lost in a different, maybe even a deeper way? The parable never tells us if he went into the party, leaving us to ask ourselves, is it possible to be in the right place, doing all the right things, and still be completely and utterly lost?